Okay, we are live now, and I hope everyone will join in a minute or two because we are already 6 minutes late. Uh, okay, fact, we'll wait for a minute and then you can start with their introductions.
Okay, okay.
Hi, I am Shaurya, and with me is Fact. We will be hosts for tonight. So, Fact, I think without further ado, we can start with their introductions.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Today we have with us Saswat Sahoo and Satyaprakash Karsharma Bhaiya. Both of them are from the batch of 2023 from NIT Rourkela. Saswat Bhaiya, he is currently working as an hardware engineer at Qualcomm, and Satyaprakash Bhaiya, he is currently working as a digital design engineer at Texas Instruments. Both were the part of the training committee last year. So welcome both of you, Bhaiya. So let's start the session with the questions.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Fact. I'll start with the first question. So, Saswat Bhaiya, can you tell us about your life at Qualcomm and the work that you do?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope I'm audible properly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So my day to day, if you want to go into that, it's a typical 9 to 5, and with that, being a hardware engineer, we have some responsibilities which are a bit different from the regular or some if someone knows about software, being a software engineer and a hardware engineer, there is a slight difference, but you won't be seeing much difference in terms of like working through a laptop and working through different softwares, and it's not that much different. But since the nature of the work and the background is a bit different, so it's yeah, it won't be much of the time. It won't feel like you are a hardware engineer, since you won't be working on a like a physical hardware, like that is the case for me. So you would be mostly handling Verilogs and other hardware description language. And apart from that, yeah, it's a very typical 9 to 5 work environment with and everyone at Qualcomm has a ton of fun. And I'm sure it's the same with most of the companies that you are aspiring for.
Okay, Bhaiya, thanks for telling us about the work that you do. Now, I would like to ask the same question to Satyaprakash Bhaiya. How is his life at Texas Instruments, and tell us about the work that he does.
Actually, as Ashok mentioned, it is almost the same as Qualcomm here in TI, that it is a typical 9 to 5 job. And even if you are thinking that you are working on a hardware job, so you will be working on proper hardware. That is rarely the case. Mostly, you will be working on softwares and you will be coding and all. Though the tech stack that we use is not as huge as that the software people use, like we are not going into the web development part and all JavaScripts and all, but the basic idea of C, the C, Python, you will require that in hardware too. So, and as I am in validation part, so in my case, I am able to go through some of the hardware. Uh, I use FPGA a lot, Palladium Qt, those type of hardware I use. But depending upon which type of role you are going for and which type of uh, team you are a part of, depending on that, it will vary that whether you are working on hardware or not. But the overall chip that you are working on, you will be part of that. But it doesn't mean that you will be you will be directly having hands-on experience with that chip or not. So that's something which is slightly different.
Okay, great answer, Bhaiya. Can we move on to the next question, Fact?
Okay, so Bhaiya, can you please elaborate something on your academic journey over the course of 4 years, and like how did it play an important part in your life? One by
So,
one.
Sashwat, let me first to do it. So, as most of you know that I was in electrical engineering branch, not in the typical electronics and communication or EI. So, in EE branch, the subjects which directly target to the hardware role are pretty less. The only subjects that we go through are digital electronics, analog electronics, embedded systems, and these are the only subjects that we go through. So if I am studying these subjects, studying these electrical subjects, then uh, and I am aspiring to go for the hardware role, then at least have a proper hold on these subjects. Okay, so what I thought in during the preparation of these subjects in my end-sem and mid-sem is that if I'm preparing for these subjects, I'm indirectly preparing for my placements and internships and all. So I think that in your academic year, it is a balance between what you are doing and how that subject that you are studying will affect your life in long run. So that is something I believe. And in my 4 years, like in my 4 years, after like second year, I started to convince myself that whatever subject that I am going through, if that subject will help me in my hardware role, then I should study it properly. So in that way, academics, the proper academics, the academic that we typically connect to, the which the teacher teaches us, I started to focus on those subjects specifically.
Okay, Bhaiya.
Yes,
Thank you
Sasha.
for that insight. Because generally these are the questions. This is a typical question from any electrical junior, that how do we prepare for any VLSI profile. So that will be really helpful for them. And the same question goes for Saswat Bhaiya. Can you elaborate on your academic journey? Yeah.
So I am from electronics and communication engineering branch. So being in that branch, for people who are in that branch, they won't be facing this issue were that people in electrical face, because some of their coursework is not directly aligned with what the companies, VLSI companies, are uh, looking for. So that issue is not present with our branch. Of course, there are some subjects that are not, I won't say required, but are not aligned with the needs of the company. For example, like I feel like for Qualcomm and Texas, some subjects are not. Yeah, if you can skip those subjects for them. But yeah, in electronics and communication, I feel 80% of the syllabus is aligned with whatever you would be needing for your online tests and interviews. So that way the it is very helpful, because we don't have to, or the people who are in that branch, in this branch, don't have to put in that extra mile, and don't have to go that extra take that extra effort to learn something new that is not there in their coursework. So it is mostly aligned, and I feel that some of the lab works that we do with MATLabs and other FPGA work that we do is quite helpful for understanding, because understanding the, the VLSI industry, because what we do on theory and what we do in practical, I think till now everyone has got an idea and taste that it's very different. So also the industry has moved. The VLSI industry is way ahead of the curve, and it always is trying to innovate. So sometimes what in my personal experience, what I have felt is that sometimes we have to learn some new things that are not part of our curriculum, because our curriculum is designed in a very structured way, and sometimes we need something different. For example, some like Verilog or some other hardware description language courses are a bit late in the curriculum, while we might one person might need it earlier than it is taught in the curriculum. So I think that is a thing that one has to keep in mind, and while targeting certain VLSI companies in their early stage, because they have to prepare for those subjects as well.
And I would add to it that see, the technology will move ahead and ahead. That we cannot always pace with it, because you need some basic knowledge before you get to the advanced part. So the subject that the institute is teaching us, like the digital electronics and embedded systems, at least have a proper grip on those subjects, because even if you are working on 8085 in college, you are having the basic knowledge of 8085 and 8051 microcontroller. Then when you go to the industry, the processor will change. Obviously, we will go to x86 in Intel case, and we'll go to ARM in Texas Instruments case. So the processor will change. But if you have the basic knowledge of how the processor works and what are the pipelines, what all happens in the flag registers and all, then that basic knowledge you can carry to the new chip, new processor. So that's why I say, if you just start complaining that our course is not up to date, and we must not read the 8085 and 8051 because no one is using 8085 and 8051, then you are doing a disservice to yourself. Because in future, I will guarantee you that when you are going through R manual, some of the concepts which are there in 8085 and 8051 will carry on to the ARM, and that lack of knowledge in 8085 8051 will hamper your growth for in ARM.
Yeah, that's a great point actually. Always, I think always everyone should, in all the branches, should have their basics clear, because all the newer technologies are built upon these tech stacks that someone might feel is old. So we cannot skip whatever that is old and directly jump ahead and learn what is right now the industry, so-called industry golden, because everything starts from the basics. And if someone is not clear with their digital and analog and other FPGA or other processors or other basics that is taught in the curriculum, so that would greatly hamper your learnings in the future. So yeah.
So thank you, Bhaiya, for that. And okay, let's start with some more questions. Like, okay, so this question for Saswat Bhaiya. Like, when did you become sure about your career path, and what was your plan of action towards it?
Yeah, so I think being in this our batch, we had COVID for 2 years. Like after our
Yeah.
first year, we had COVID. So it was a great, I would say, both a great and a very challenging period, because during that time, since we didn't have much interaction with our friends and all, we were not sure because being in after your first semester, no one is sure what they want to do. Everybody just thinks that they want this, they want that, but no one is sure, right? So during that time, it's a great challenge to understand your strengths and all. But I feel that I was privileged enough and lucky enough that I had many friends like Satyaprakash himself only. So so they were very much aligned very early that they want to go to VLSI, and I myself was not very sure about this. But going forward, I did some, like, I delved into VLSI. I started reading some books, and I got into some videos and I started searching. Like, I would suggest everyone to, see, Google is a very powerful tool you have, everyone has, right? And we can just simply search different job profiles, not job profiles, but different roles or different streams, and we can see that if that excites us. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to do some work for 10 hours a day, then you have to be excited for that work in the morning. Otherwise, it if the work doesn't excite a person or doesn't make it interesting for them, then there is no point going into that field. And I feel in my second year, I was fortunate enough to discover that, yeah, this field is something great and it's achieving something in the industry. And also my temperament and my some of my interest also lies in that field. So I got along with the train of VLSI and went ahead and started learning. And as I went deeper into this field, I found more and more interesting stuff, and I was double sure that, yeah, I'm doing something right with whatever I'm trying to do. And that's how the journey, you know, took me.
And here I would add that if you are in second year, don't wait for a trigger. Don't wait for a trigger that something big will happen which will decide on which path you should go, because that will not happen. A small thing can change in to which about your thinking on which career path you must go. In my case, one video of Bharat Acharya, that 8085 architecture video, if many of you have already seen that video, because it is a pretty famous video of 8085. So after going through that video in my second year, just for fun, I watched that video, and that was the trigger, which is like, okay, I must go with electronics, because this excites me. 8085, 8051, these type of architecture excites me. So depending on these small things, even you can change your career path and go with it.
Okay, that's a great point. I didn't know that you watched Bharatacharya in your second year. That is amazing
Just for
because
fun. If you see, many of you must be knowing who KRS ma'am is. KRS ma'am once mentioned that she will explain 8085 and 8051 when she will finish the digital electronics course. But that was not the case actually. But when he mentioned 8085 and 8051, just for curiosity's sake, I went to go like YouTube and search 8085. So the first video that popped was Bharat Acharya's 8085 architecture. So I just went through it.
yes, the same happened with our batch, and she told all about the pins of 8085. But
Yes,
no one bothered to go back home and search on their own. So that is a very important point, that both of you are taking initiatives, which is what I would like to tell to our junior batches as well. They have to take initiatives.
yes.
Yeah,
They
I
If
think.
you are hearing a word, heard the word in my December, 2021 December most probably. So at that time when I heard 885, I just searched about it, what it is, and that led to this electronics and all.
Yeah, I think everyone should at least explore everything, at least everything that one is very curious about or doesn't know something. I think every junior or every person themselves should explore this, because there is no harm in exploring, right? A 15-minute search and 15-minute let's say 10-minute YouTube video about something, it will give you a great insight on something. And it might, you never know that if that thing will again decide your future for your next 30-40 years, right? So there won't be, as Satyaprakash mentioned, that there won't be some big trigger or some big eureka moment in everyone's life, like, yeah, I have to do this because of certain reasons. But these small things add up, and that's how everyone starts their journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, Great answer, Bhaiya. Uh, my next question is, I would like to ask you one by one. If you could go back 2 years, what do you think is the right thing you did and a mistake that you did while preparing for this industry? Satyaprakash Bhaiya, can you go first?
Uh, so If you ask me this question, I will say that as I mentioned that in my second year I went through 885. So I was so intrigued with the co-arch part, the computer organization and architecture part. So I inclined myself way too much in co-arch part. I finished 885, 8051. Then I was also going through computer organization and architecture. But at this moment, when I am in the industry and even in my fourth year, I realized that maybe after finishing 8085, I should have gone with Verilog because Verilog is very important. Let me tell you, even in industry right now, in 80, in Texas Instruments at least, and in many of the companies, we still use Verilog in our RTL coding. And that Verilog knowledge will, even if you are not in RTL part, you are in validation part, you are in verification part, that knowledge, that grip on Verilog will help you a lot because that will help you in debugging many of the test cases, in debugging what the problems we all are facing, and what all is happening in the module that we are working on. So if I go back 2 years and I get another chance, then maybe after 8085, I would have gone with my full force to Verilog part because digital part I was confident about in confident in digital part I was, but after 885 I pivoted to Verilog pretty late. So that is something I think that you should start Verilog as soon as possible. If you are finished with digital electronics, go with Verilog because that will open a lot of gates even for projects and all. So that is something which I did wrong, and that's it.
Okay, Saswat Bhaiya, over to you.
Yeah, so in when I started my preparation, I went with digital electronics and analog electronics. But what the mistake I think I did was I didn't delve into doing some projects with Verilog. That's a thing that I think everyone should do at least once, because I feel learning Verilog without doing any, like, if you are implementing something in Verilog or doing any project, then that would give you a great insight into Verilog. So that's a mistake I feel I did, that I did not do any projects at that time. So if because that will also add to your resume, because there are not a lot of people who do proper Verilog projects or some very intricate projects apart from some basic projects, because you would be having some labs and all. But apart from that, I feel if someone is doing any project on their own, maybe it may be a small project, but it should be completely on their own, then that would help a person very much. And I feel that that's what I would change if I go back, you know, in time and do some implementing projects. That would have given me a much deeper understanding of how Verilog, because uh, writing a proper Verilog code might seem easy, but it's not. Let me tell you that some simple 10-line code has so much meaning in Verilog that it takes, a good amount of understanding to understand how it works behind the scene. Because after you have implemented that code, how is it running in the background? uh, Understanding that will give you such a big, knowledge boost. It would help a lot in your long run.
Yes, that is actually very important because writing a Verilog code is a different thing, but writing a optimized Verilog code, because if you are writing a Verilog code, every uh, that always statement that you use, all that will initiate one uh, flip flop. So you want minimum flip flops. So writing optimized to Verilog code is pretty important. So these, uh, as Sashwat mentioned, it is important that you, even if you're writing a 10-line Verilog code, that must be the most optimized Verilog code that you write. So try to master that.
Okay,
Okay, thank
thanks,
you, Bhaiya.
Bhaiya. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, Pat,
so
can we move
for
to the
our next question follows actually the same thing. Uh, Generally, the students who are preparing for VLSI or semiconductor-oriented company, they are generally confused about what kind of projects to put in their resumes. So, can you give some insights on that?
Sashwat, you can go first.
Okay. So I think everyone should at least have Vivado installed in their system, because that is a complete suite and it's very user friendly for anyone who is doing Verilog. I feel that because I was using that software, and while doing some bigger projects also, that is the most recommended tool anyone will encounter. And apart from that, for projects, you can start one can start with very simple FSM designs, like having a digital log. I think that is the most common one one can start with, because that would give you a lot of understanding on what FSM is, and how FSM is written in Verilog. Because in digital electronics, when you are reading FSM, you only know the flops and the states and how you draw the flops, but in Verilog it is quite different. And also you would understand a lot about counters. And so I think starting with something like a digital lock is a great way to start the project. And again, exploring a lot. Some people have implemented very small CISC and RISC machines also. While that I won't recommend a beginner, because that is quite complicated. And yeah, like, it's, sky is the limit. Any project, any previously implemented work can be replicated, and that is uh, there is no such thing as copying a project. Yeah, of course, if you are understanding that project and writing the code on your own and having some twist along the way, that is the way to go. It should not be like copy pasting a GitHub repository, or directly seeing the code on somewhere and directly running it and saying, yeah, I've done the project. That is as good as not doing the project itself. But yeah, starting with some simple projects and moving ahead with having combinations of your previous projects and implementing a very cool system. I think everyone should have that idea that whatever they are seeing in their day to day life, how they can mimic it in their field. Like, one can easily use counters and replicate a digital clock, and they can have some other interrupts. And yeah, I won't go much into that details, but yeah, they can add their twist and take into previously existing project and implement it from their scratch, or take some part of their previous projects, or and join them and combine them and make something new altogether. And also, I think participating in hackathons, which have these kinds of streams. For example, I think IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, IIT Goa, they have many such competition with Arduino and other hackathons. So that will they will provide a topic to you and problem statement, and implementing those can also count as a project. And if you win along the way, that's a double win in my books. So that's a good way to go. Yeah, Satyaprakash, you can add.
Yes. So as you mentioned, like don't just copy paste any project, because the interviewer that you're taking that is taking your interview, those who are taking your interview, those are not idiots. Okay, so if you just go through a Verilog course, and at the end of the Verilog course you are getting a project, and you are just copy pasting that project and calling it as your own, then just remember that if you're going through a Udemy Verilog course, then thousands and thousands of students are going through that same Verilog course, and they all have the same Verilog project. So there is no difference. Okay, how will you differentiate yourself from the others? That is the important part. So, as you mentioned, even if you're going for small projects, then that's fine, but have proper grasp on what the project is and what it is doing. In During your internship, most of the companies don't expect you to be working on multiple risk processor and sys processor, because that is a pretty different uh, topic, and you require a lot more knowledge than basic digital electronics to implement that project. But in your fourth year, before your placement, you can go through risk processor and sys processor, and you can have a twist in it. You can also try Python to automate that design for you. What I mean is, like, as Sashat mentioned, that we can provide interrupts and all, but the way we provide the interrupt, there are two ways. You can do manually, you can provide the interrupt, or you can automate it using Python. So I believe currently, as most of the students, this is not a project that you can do alone. You need some of kind of a group which can work on it and im- complete a design on Verilog and try to like automate it using Python. So these are the some of the projects which you can go through before your placements, not before your internship, because at that time you are not having that much of knowledge regarding computer organization and architecture and different embedded systems and all. So these are the some of the like high grade projects that I can tell you that you can try it once and see how far you can go, because even if you try whatever at what point, even if you are stopping it, that is itself is a good project, which most of the students are not having with themselves. So it is a differentiating factor that you are having above the other students, that other candidates that are giving the interview. So like you can think it that way, not just go through a simple YouTube video and code that and it's over. It's not that. If you are having a Verilog code for RISC processor, then try thinking how you can implement the same code for ARM processor, because the ARM is not open source, the RISC-V is open source. So you are having the proper code and multiple organizations are there which are working on RISC-V, but for ARM it's not the case. So just try implementing it yourself and how far you can go with the processor.
Thank you, Bhaiya, for your insights. So the next question is for Saswat Bhaiya. I think you have gotten this question quite some time. This is regarding your Qualcomm internship, Qualcomm summer internship, and how to secure a PBO.
Okay. So you want me to go into how I got the internship, or you want me to how I secured the PPO, or which one? Or
Like your
both?
overall internship experience, and then how did you secure the PPO? What are the pointers to keep in mind while
Okay.
working there? Yeah.
Okay. So being a summer intern, since it's for BTech, it's only 2 months, 2 or 3 months, depending on the company. So it won't be very much involved. You won't, depending on the company, you might not even work on a live project. You might be, most of the time, or I would say 90% of the time, you would be given some automation task, and or some review work, or some manual work that can be done. But I feel those work will gives a person a very deep understanding, and not actually deep, very overall understanding on how actually the things are done. Because in order to automate a process, you need to understand the process itself. You have to understand where the manual work lies, and you have to automate that part. So that's in my internship, I was also tasked with most of the automation tasks itself. And in those 2 months, I feel everyone should get a thing correct in their mind, that internship doesn't mean that you have to go reach there by 9 a.m., start working, and you just have to work and do the deliverables, and don't do anything, sit and work and then come back. That's not what the internship is meant for. The industry and the companies are not looking for some robots, or some people who are completely like working all the time and not talking, not socializing. Socializing is a very big aspect during your internship. And I feel if you are socializing, but also networking at the same time, because those two things go hand in hand. And you have to understand that you are working with people, and they are also people. They have, everyone has their life, and how you manage that time, that those 8 hours, and you have to utilize them very, in a most efficient way. You have to work, you have to socialize, you have to show your presence, that yeah, you are a very fun person to work with. You are building some trust among your colleagues, or to be colleagues. And I think that goes a long way. You have to you have to nurture a professional relationship with everyone. You have to build trust, that if they are trusting you with some work, then you can do it properly with minimal interventions. Yeah, of course, in your during your internship, you would having a lot of doubt. Even all the time you would be having doubts with your work. but that doesn't mean that you will feel that yeah, you should not have any doubts when there are work with you, right? Because as a person, you are new to the industry. When you are new to the industry, you are not familiar with the flows and paradigms what is followed. You have to ask doubts, and you have to, but again, that is also a separate topic, that how you should ask people about your doubts and how you should approach other people. I think that people skills is a very big part during your internship and during your whole career as well. Because if you are not good with people and your colleagues, then nobody is going to uh, trust you with their work, and nobody is going to vouch for you when there is some feedback. Because at the end of the day, when you are going to secure your PPO, your manager will consult with your team or the people whom you have worked with, and they would decide that yes, this person is a good fit in our team and is going to be an asset to the team. So one has to keep in mind that you have to be the asset to a team. One does not need, because otherwise then there is no point in having you inside the team if you're not being an asset. So uh yeah, internship is a great learning experience, because it would tell you how to, because the work part is, I feel you would learn the work very quickly, rather than it is much more difficult to learn how to interact and how to talk with people. So I feel both of them has to go hand in hand during your internship. So observe people around you, how they are behaving, how they are working, because professional environment professional environment is very much different than what we see in usual medias and other ways we see how a workplace is. It's very much different, it's very professional, everybody is there to work, and that's how you have to balance it and show that yes, you are a good fit for the company and the team, and that's how you secure a PPO.
Good points, Shashwat Bhaiya. And I think any junior who has obtained an opportunity to intern at these companies, they should take down these points very seriously. And okay, my next question is for Satyaprakash Bhaiya. So I want to ask you to elaborate on your journey to prepare for an FT offer in a semiconductor related company, because the FT preparation and intern preparation specifically for this industry can get very different. So I would like to elaborate. I would like you to elaborate on that and tell us the difference between the two.
So obviously there is huge difference between what is expected from you during your internship and what is expected from you in your FT. And in semiconductor, it is mostly like in your internship time, when you are giving the interviews, they mostly ask you about basic analog electronics and digital electronics. And if you are having knowledge of Verilog, then they will ask you Verilog and all. But in your FT, it is quite different. They expect you to have knowledge on embedded system because they know that in your third year, most of the colleges are having embedded system as their course. So they can ask you any question regarding the embedded system. Obviously, they will ask you on which microprocessor or microcontroller you are more comfortable with. So they can ask questions on that. So this is one of the part which I can say is pretty much different from internship, because in FT they expect you to have basic knowledge on embedded systems. Also, they expect you to have basic knowledge on CMOS, how the CMOS works and what all happens in the CMOS, and how you can implement a RAM and all using the CMOS. So that these things adds up from internship to the FT part. And obviously Verilog remains constant from both internship and Verilog part. There is a possibility that in your internship they might not ask you any question regarding Verilog, or even if they ask, they will ask some basic questions on counter and all. But in your placement FT, there is a possibility that they may ask some tough questions. They may ask you to debug a Verilog code and all. So these are the big difference, and you must prepare accordingly, because obviously having the your best knowledge on digital electronics and analog electronics is a must for both. But what else you are doing? Which type of projects you are working on? Even in the internship part, they don't even expect you to have very good projects. They just want basic projects, and you should be able to explain those projects properly to the interviewer. But in your FT part, at least have one standout project which, if the interviewer sees, he can ask you questions on that project itself. Okay, so if you are working on a RISC-V processor, then mention it in your CV, and when they will see that that you have worked on the RISC-V processor and this all you have implemented, they can ask questions on that RISC-V processor. They can also ask questions on ARM processor. So these all adds up. In your internship season, obviously you might have worked on a digital lock, a clock, different type of timers and all, but they cannot ask deep questions on on those topics. In FT, if you are having good projects, then they can go with that project, and then they can ask different type of questions on that project itself. So that is the big difference that I think.
Okay. My next question is to both of you, and I think you can answer one by one. So, I think the scenario for this year was quite different from the last year because the FT hiring was very less, and same for internship also. So, if someone cannot secure an on-campus internship despite being very skilled in these concepts, then what would you suggest to them? What should they do?
See, in the end, it's his or her decision, because there are two paths they can take. First one is they can go with the research internship and complete the research internship on electronics part, and then start again. I'm mentioning about internship part. If you are not able to get the internship, then you can go with the research internship, and uh, then in your placement you can start over with the companies like Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, and try to clear those companies in your FT part. This is one way. Other way that most of the people choose is that they just change their stream. Okay, they see that many of his or her friend are in software domain or in core domain like in electrical. Then they see that they are getting internships and all, so they pivot their focus from electronics to software, mostly software and analytics. So they just move with that. But as I mentioned, it actually depends on the person. If he or she is okay with just uh, if he or she is okay with pivoting the electronics to software, then it's fine. But if he's adamant that yes, the only sector that I must go and the only sector which I am passionate about is electronics, then I would suggest that try to connect in through LinkedIn and get a internship in a industry. But if you are not able to get the internship, then just go through research internship and try again in your placements. And if in the placements you are not getting placed, then obviously here the situation pretty different. Here you are not having the job, you are not having like something to look up to in your internship season. If you are not getting the internship, at least you have something to look up to, that yes, next year when during the placement, when the new companies will come, I can at least sit for the those companies, and if uh, if I am skilled enough, then I can get through the companies. But if after the placement season you are not getting placed, then I would suggest that get some job, at least get a job, even in analytics sector, and then try to grab opportunities off campus. Try to connect through LinkedIn, try to go through different websites like Glassdoor and all, and try to get uh, a placement. If even if you are not getting the package that you desire, just get into the industry. Just get into the industry, that I will suggest. That is something I would suggest. After you get inside the industry, if you are good at your work, then you can switch the companies pretty easily. But uh, have a job on campus for at least you will not fall to the rock bottom if you're not getting the job in your after the off campus tries. So you will not fall to the rock bottom. You have something that you can latch on. So this is something I suggest most of the students who are not able to get the placements. So that they must pivot to a and yeah, this whatever I say analytics part and try to grab the off-campus placement on for electronics.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because having a back plan B, because everywhere there is no guarantee that whatever you are doing is going to work out properly or not. But this season, I have heard that this is a very tough period for everyone who is seeking a job as a fresher, because of the financial crunches and all the recession and stuff. I think that's a great point, that one has to get into the industry. It doesn't matter if it doesn't pay that well. It doesn't matter if that's not exactly your uh, choice company. You should get into the industry, and I would suggest that don't have a very big gap in your resume. At least try not to have a gap more than of 3 months or 4 months. Is I would suggest that after that it starts to look bad, because all the companies who are hiring fresher, because there is a lot of competition. You have to understand that, because along with you thousands of people are also applying for that same job. And if in a condition, you for one seat two people are competing and one doesn't have a resume gap and one person has, then that immediately gives the other person the edge. So try not to have a resume gap. May it be going for a in experience with a professor, may it be some research work, may it be through gate, may it be through some startup. I think startup is a very underrated field that people are not willing to explore much in their final years, of course, because NIT is a very good college, and there are a lot of opportunities. But yeah, of course, if the times are tough, then one has to also toughen up and you know keep their expectation under check, and seek for opportunities that are out of their comfort zone. uh, this point that LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. You have to network with people. You might not know them, they don't know you, you don't know them, but again, this is not something you are this is a professional relationship that you are building over there. No one there is going for some other kind of work, and you are not going to there for making friends. It's not a typical social media. It's for your job and their career, your career. Everyone there is trying to make their career, and everyone is seeking for opportunities. And I think now most of the people are not familiar that people who are in big companies get incentives when they provide good referrals. So everyone is looking for a very able candidate. That person might not be a recruiter or a talent acquisition specialist, might be a regular employee at a company. If you connect with them and they are at a their team has some vacancies that is not posted in LinkedIn, and they get incentive if they refer a person and that person gets the job in the company. So you never know if that person has any opportunities for you. So looking through LinkedIn, browsing jobs, looking for companies, just merely reading their job description and their minimum requirements will give you an idea that in what line you need to prepare and make your skills in that way. Upskilling is a very important part when you're looking for job. You have to understand that when you are not looking for the job and not preparing, you are being left behind. So there are a lot of ways I feel you can one person can catch up, maybe through different methods. People, I have seen some people go towards higher education. That's also a great way of you know uh, skipping it for the later period. So that's a great way. But yeah, if some again it as Satyaprakash mentioned, it depends on the person and their goals. If they have a goal that yeah they can start their career a bit late, like after 2 or 3 years, then they can go for higher education depending on what they want. They might go for MTech, MS, or even if they want, they can go for MBA, even though that might be a bit tough. But yeah, depends on their goal. they can go for other opportunities with professors around the globe and do some research work with them along with their lab, and that might get you some opportunities. And companies, I feel, during a recession, if some field is being hit, but there is always a field that is not being affected by recession. There won't be a case when everything is down and nothing is available, like there is zero opening everywhere. That's never the case. One has to lower their expectation at that period of time, and toughen up and apply everywhere and get a job, and at least never have a resume gap more than 4 months. That's what I would
Yes, and
suggest.
one thing that even if you are having a dilemma between whether you should go with higher education and you should go with the analytics job. See, 2 years of MTech job, MTech education, and then getting a job is still better than if you are stuck at a different industry that you are not passionate about. So think about it, because these 2 years, the MTech, those people who get into the semiconductor industry after MTech, they even are getting paid higher than the BTech people. And when you will get to the industry, you will see that most of the semiconductor colleagues that we are having, most of them are from MTech, not from BTech. So it's not something which you must cross. You know, I'm not going for higher education. I must get the job here and here itself.
Yeah, okay. So, my great answers, Bhaiya. My next question for you is when we were preparing, when we were in our third year, so you guys sent a document which had all the electronics company guide. So, my question for you is it okay for people to prepare for placements in a company oriented way?
Simple answer is no.
Yeah, that's a great. You can never only target one company and prepare for it. So what happens if that company decide that this year they won't come, right? You can, if you are only preparing for one company, like you can't ever prepare for one company. You have to have your basics clear, right? Otherwise, there is, how would you go for example, Qualcomm and Texas, both are in VLSI. If you don't have your digital electronics clear, and you only prepare whatever in that in that guidebook we have various interview experiences and all, what only if you prepare that and tell that, yeah, I prepared for this company, I have learned all the interview questions, but that won't help you, like, ever. If your CV is not strong, if your basics are not clear, I think in various companies, if you read the job description, they would say that we will only ask basics, and if your basics are clear, then it's all good. No one here is going to ask something, you know out of the very much out of the box, something that is completely new, you don't know, nobody knows about it. It's not like that. So you cannot just prepare for one company. First of all, that is, statistically not recommended ever, anywhere.
Yes.
And yeah.
For example,
Uh,
let me tell you an example. When Cadence comes to our college and hires, they in their description they mention about different types of protocols that we have, that I2C protocol, I2S protocols. These type of protocols they ask in their interviews. So if you're targeting Cadence, and you're like, I'm going through the protocols and digital electronics, but I'm not going through the computer organization part because I'm targeting Cadence. And let me tell you, uh, most of the companies don't ask the protocols and all. It's a plus point if you're having basic knowledge on the I2S protocol, I2S protocol, these type of protocols. If you're having knowledge, it's a plus point. You can mention it in different companies, that even if you are in Texas Instruments, you are giving the interview, you can mention them that I have worked on these type of protocols. I have knowledge on these protocols and all. That's a plus point. But if you are only going through those protocols and saying that I'm going through these protocols because I am targeting Cadence, then there is a problem. This you must not do.
Okay, Bhaiya. Thank you for that. And okay, so we have almost reached towards the end of the question. So my last question is, what is the future of the VLSI market that you guys are seeing in it? And can you tell us something about the current recession that is going on? And what will be the one line advice which you would like to give to your juniors? One by one, you guys can answer.
Yeah, Satyaprakash, you can go ahead.
Okay. So about the recession part, so see, uh, recession is something which will happen every 10 years. In a decade, if you go through like the history, you will see every decade it happens that the economy goes to like recession and all. So this is bound to happen. But in India, if you are going through the news and all, you must have seen that Micron is uh, try making a new fab in Gujarat with Tata and all. They are partnering up and making a fab because everyone knows that everything depends on semiconductor. Whichever whatever device you are using, even a small device that you are using, that depends on the semiconductor that is inside it. And some companies making that semiconductor. So if you are progressing and you are like the industry is going making new gadgets and all, then obviously the semiconductor industry will like move up with the technology and all. So therefore, even if currently you may see that we are in a recession period, obviously they are not hiring a lot. But after the recession ends, you will be having some more openings and way more openings. Even now there are some openings, but after the recession ends, obviously there will be a boost in the semiconductor industry because this is a need. You cannot just it cannot just happen that some of the companies are shutting down, some of the big players they are just shutting down, and if those companies are shutting down, obviously that they will affect other companies, even the software companies and all. They will affect everything. So in semiconductor, I see that for, there is quite a growth left.
Yeah, I would always say, I think there was this term like this was the bronze era, iron era.
Mm.
Right now, I think we are living in the semiconductor era or the
Semiconductor era.
silicon era. So every new piece of technology, every smart devices is having some sort of silicon or some sort of chip inside it. So VLSI is a basic backbone of the technological development. Every time there is a new technology or any new innovation that is happening or anything that is even pre-existing in our day-to-day life, right? Even this laptop that we are having, all the servers that these stream is running through, our mics, everything, our phones, everything has a semiconductor device inside it. So there won't be, at least for the foreseeable future, I'm not seeing anywhere that this industry is going to go anywhere or going to become redundant, that we won't be needing this industry ever again. That won't be the case for the foreseeable future, unless there is some major technological breakthrough where that makes silicon and VLSI completely irrelevant. But VLSI at its core is not only silicon, but it's something that is implemented on silicon. If something, if the for example, if the material changes, doesn't mean that VLSI is going to go ahead. It's just that the all the hierarchies might change, but this industry is not going to go anywhere. Because in order, I think everyone is familiar with the Moore's law, that every time we are going to double our flops or the gates inside our silicon wafer. So, and that is yet to be proven not true. That graph is still true to this date, and it's way back. It was proposed way back. Everyone thought that after decade we would go reach a plateau, and everyone, even in the recent decade, people were saying that we won't be going to break through like 10 nanometer is a dream, we are not going to break through that, everyone. But right now you can see, like, there are huge breakthroughs everywhere and every time, and VLSI is booming like anything. Yes, this recession is hampering because of other factors, but I feel this industry is going to be very relevant in the foreseeable future. And as Satyaprakash mentioned, that recession happens every decade. there is going to be a recession every decade, that doesn't mean that everything is just going to come to a halt. It's just for a temporary period of time, and whenever the economy bounces back, there's going to be a lot of more hiring, a lot of more opportunities. So it's just a waiting game. Whoever is going to wait it out, whoever is there for a long period and long, whoever is playing the long game is going to be the winner in this. So I feel if someone feels that for this small time that yeah, this is the recession, this is it for VLSI is gone, it's doomed, and that thinking I think is in wrong complete. So yeah.
Okay, Bhaiya. So, would you like to give any one-line advice for the juniors?
Just remain consistent.
I think yeah,
Just remain
consistency,
consistent.
discipline is the
Like,
key, man. This
yes,
is very important, those two
because
things.
obviously, um, like in software domain, many of the companies will visit, and even if you are not getting placed in one company, you are having the hope to get in the second company. And if even if you are not getting into the second company, there is a third company. You can see that in software company, but not in hardware company. The number of companies visiting our campus is pretty less than 10, I would say. So
Yeah.
be consistent, be like, have the confidence that even if a company will hire one in the whole batch, I will be the one. Have that confidence in you. That will help you a lot.
Bhaiya. Thank you, Bhaiya, for all that. Now I think we can start with the Q&A.
Yeah, and I would like to remind everyone that you can drop your doubts in the live chat and we'll take them one by one. So I don't see a lot of questions, but I'll start anyway. Okay, so the first question is by Aditya Arya. He's asking, what was your roadmap when you started your preparation? Sasudaya?
I think first, digital analog basics has to be clear. I think Neso is a very great channel for people who don't have, you know, much attention span if they want to learn quickly. 7 minutes video. One can go through. I think they have a 300 video playlist. One can go through that within a few weeks, and they would have a very strong foundation of digital and analog electronics. I think for me, it was first digital, then analog, then deeper into analog by using, MOSFET, CMOS, and all that. Then going through some Verilog. I think when you are clear with your basics, that is enough for your internship. And in my case, uh, that was it because I converted to PPO, so I did not need to prepare for the FT. So I think Satyaprakash would be much better. Uh, he would give you much more insight on this.
So the basic part remains the same. First go through digital electronics, then analog electronics, and you need not to be master in analog electronics. The basic part you must know how the MOSFET works and all those. You must have the basic idea on uh, analog part. In digital, as Sashwat mentioned, you can go through NESO, but the channel that I would recommend is the Creatrix channel. In the Creatrix, there is the digital electronics course by Ankit Goyal. If you go through that, the details in the detail which he explained the digital electronics part, you will never forget any concept. Okay, so though it is not for those who are just having it for the fun, because the length of the videos is pretty long. It will take 1 hour for one video, and there are too many videos for digital electronics and analog electronics. But just go through it. Have the patience. If you are targeting for placements, then be pretty sure on every concept in digital electronics. You must be confident about every topic. Then after that, go with Verilog. Okay, so in Verilog, many of the software people, you must be knowing that they are doing questions on Lead Code, Geek for Geeks. They are having those type of platforms. But for semiconductor, there is only one platform, that is HTLBits. Go to HTLBits. There are 100 questions and 100 or 200 questions. I don't remember properly, but complete all those questions in Verilog. and that would make sure that you are having proper knowledge on Verilog. And after that, go with CMOS and computer organization and architecture. Computer organization and architecture is nothing but a broad embedded system course. Okay, in embedded system course, you will be studying 8085 microprocessor and 8051 microcontroller. But in computer organization and architecture course, uh, learn the processor as a whole. They will not only You will not only learn about one 8085 microprocessor or 8051 microcontroller. You will learn it as a whole. So this is my roadmap which I will suggest, and in between these subjects, go through the project part as well. And there are some of these small topics which also you need to prepare. Those are asynchronous PIPO and all, static timing analysis. These all are also expected from you in your placement part. They will obviously ask you question on static timing analysis, though they may not ask you questions on asynchronous FIFO. But why to take risk? Complete both, complete asynchronous FIFO part, complete STA part, and all.
Good answers, Saswat Bhaiya and Satyaprakash Bhaiya. So the next question is from Karthik, who wants to ask for analog and electronics, which resources are much better? And he has another question: which topics does he need to watch?
See, for analog electronics, I would suggest you can go through NESO course. If there is a NESO course for analog electronics, as I remember. Or if you want to go deeper into it, you can go through Creatrix. And if you are one of those kid who thinks that it is better to read a topic than to watch the video, then go with Sarda Smith book.
Yeah,
Sashwat,
Cedra Smith is a golden book for anyone who is doing analog, and I think Morris Mano is a good book,
for digital.
and yeah, for digital. And I think there is a if you want to learn specifics, like if you want to learn about 555 timer or astable and multi-stable, uh, so that for that you have a channel for all about electronics, I guess. That is
Yes.
also, yeah, good channel that you can follow. And yes, NPTEL is always there, but I am not sure how many people I have that patience and dedication to go
Yes.
through all the NPTEL channels. So I think those are great resources. I think those are more than enough resources for preparing. And I think
Okay.
practicing some questions, I think Morris Mano has great set of questions that you can do.
Yes. They
Yeah.
pretty good.
Okay. Our next question is from Rishi Shriram, who wants to ask, where can we practice these questions for digital and Verilog? Saswat Bhaiya.
Yeah, I think I practice through, there are a lot of, I think if you go to some websites like, I'm not sure the website name, there are a lot
Sun
of,
Foundry.
yeah. So they have great question banks. There you can practice them. We are talking about free. Otherwise, there are some paid platforms as well. However, I have not yet used them. But books like Morris Mano, as I mentioned, I think that has a lot of questions that you can go through. Cedra Smith for analog has also good questions, but again, that's a very abstract book and might not be a great help for very specific questions. But it has a
Yes.
great question bank that would clear your basics. Like you would know A to Z of basics of analog through Cedra and Smith. So
And
that's
the digital part, it is pretty simple. If you want the questions, then go through the previous year gate questions. Okay, those two are pretty good. And for Verilog, the platform that I mentioned is HDL bits. If anyone wants to write it down, then just write it down. It's HDL bits, HDL bits. Just go to that website and start solving the questions in Verilog. They will mention a question. They will provide the module, the basic module, and you just have to write the code in it. There is no gap in between HDL and bits, well, but if they search HDL bits, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So our So, okay, before I take the next question, I would like to give a reminder again that you can also ask branch specific questions, as Satyaprakash Bhaiya is from electrical and Saswat Bhaiya is from electronics. So, our next question is just a minute. Yeah. So our next question is there any impact of the AI boom in the hardware industry, like specific hardware for AI accelerators?
Yeah, I think if someone is following VLSI industry on LinkedIn or any news, they can see that Nvidia has had a recent boom. So if someone has done some background research in that, they would understand that it is all because of generative AI. Right now, this is the buzzword everywhere. Generative AI is the buzz. After Chat GPT, I think people were not aware that how AI is going to affect VLSI, but one has to understand how a AI works. It has to be trained on a great data set, and it has to be it has to has a very powerful machine. And who is going to prepare those machines? It's VLSI only. So Nvidia came in very, at the very right time, and that was a great boom from Nvidia. And I think Texas and Qualcomm are also one of the uh, pioneers in these industries with electronic vehicles. Like, I think Tesla, if someone is aware, Tesla is also developing very much into AI, and there is this new company XAI by Elon Musk, and they are heavily investing in AI. And everything that is AI has a backbone of great machines and great hardware that is going to enable them. I think there was this recent news of India having a petabyte or some computational capabilities. So these are some of the things, if people are very much into VLSI, they should keep track, because these are great, conversation point. And if you have those knowledge, then it would seem, it would you as a person would appear to another person as very knowledgeable and has some, overall idea about what the industry is doing. And it's a very big point. So yeah.
Yes, and as you mentioned about NVIDIA and all, see, in the AI, if you are asking about the question that is it possible for the AI to um, just wipe out the semiconductor industry and the number of job people getting the semiconductor job will decrease. So my answer would be it is quite possible, but it will not affect a lot because see in for the AI industry, we need more computational power. We need proper CPUs, we need proper GPUs and all. So all the companies which are working on GPUs, CPUs, and these type of stuffs, which are used for the computational power of AI, then those company will boom in this AI part. Specifically, Nvidia, AMD, and all those companies which are working directly on the GPUs, those are the companies which will benefit a lot in the AI when we move to the AI part. Okay, because when it will increase, the AI part will increase, then these companies will boom, and the all the companies which are working on small parts, small computational parts, they also will gain the boost from the AI acceleration.
Okay, well, yes. So the next question is, do we need to have some basic knowledge of coding during interviews?
Yeah, I
My
think
answer is yes.
for Qualcomm there is this specific section. So for C programming, you have to clear that sectional cutoff. So if you don't have at least basic understanding, I would say you should have intermediate level of understanding with pointers and all, because for Qualcomm in the OT, you would be having some questions that are not very basic, but yeah, basics of C should be clear for anyone who is going into VLSI, because at the end of the day, not everything is done through Verilog and HDL. Some of, if you might know the drivers, I think everyone has installed some type of drivers into their hardware. So one has to understand those drivers are not written in Verilog. Those are through some various higher level programming languages, and the first and the foremost is C or C++. If you have idea of any of them, it's very much essential for at least for Qualcomm. And Python, I think everyone should have some knowledge of Python or Perl or Tickle, because scripting is going to be a very big part when you are in your career. And but that is at the later stage. You can skip that for later, learning those specific languages for automation. But having basic knowledge of data structures and some algorithm, not all, you don't need to know graph algorithm and all those advanced stuff, but yeah, you have to have some knowledge about that.
Yes, you need to have some knowledge on C, uh, because in semiconductor industry, let me tell you about myself. I am currently writing the test cases in C and automating it using Python. And though we are using some more languages as well, like ABS and all, but these two are the prominent language that we are using. So they expect you to have at least the knowledge of C, because let me tell you, the coding is not the like you must only you it is not like you need coding when you are going for semiconductor industry. It is like if you are having something in your mind, you must be able to convey it using the code. Okay, if you are having an idea, if you and you are able to write that idea in your C code, then that is fine, because that is the reason why we are coding in hardware part. So the answer is yes, you are it is important to have knowledge on C and C++.
Okay,
And so
so
then,
Okay.
the, the
Uh,
next question is from Vidushi. She wants to ask, to prepare for basics of embedded system, is the embedded systems course which is taught to us in electrical, is that enough?
See, whatever they are teaching us, that is enough. But the question is whether you are able to grasp whatever sir is teaching to you, because the way he teaches pretty tough to understand. So, but whatever he is teaching, that is relevant. That all is relevant.
Okay.
okay. So the next question is, also you had mentioned something about computer organization and architecture. Where do I study that from?
Like there are multiple courses available on YouTube. The one I followed was an academy course which is free on YouTube. You can watch that. There is a like South Indian teacher who taught computer organization and architecture, and he explained it pretty well. Though there is another course of computer organization and architecture that is catered more towards the computer science students. That too is enough, but I think that if you are trying to complete computer organization and architecture, try to complete it with the most holistic way possible. So I would suggest an academy one. So the channel that I mentioned, the second channel that I mentioned is uh, something like 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗀 or something.
Okay, I think we are done with all the audience questions because I don't see anything more. So I hope everyone liked this session, and I think Satyaprakash Bhai and Saswat Bhai covered everything that should be required. Me in fact will collect every pointer that they said, like the websites and the courses that students can follow to understand these concepts in a better way. So thank you all for joining in, and thank you Satyaprakash Bhaiya and Saswat Bhaiya for enlightening us about all this. I would like to say goodbye, and we'll end the stream.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
everyone.
Sharik. Thank you, Faik.
Thanks for
Thank you very
streaming committee and all
Yes.
who have organized this. This was a great session. I think a lot of
Yes.
juniors who are not aware of this industry, or are aware but don't have a direction, would find this quite useful.
Yes. Because let me tell you, in our time, they were not having those friendly community sessions. So most of the people were not even aware of semiconductor industry up until Texas Instruments came for the internship and all. So that was something because now, because of this training committee and all, most of the students at least know what semiconductor industry actually is.
Yeah, great initiative, guys.
Thank you, Bhaiya. We learned from the best. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think there is one more question, then we'll end. Okay.
No,
Uh,
answer is no.
Answer is no. No, this is
okay.
not required. If you have not mentioned it in your CV, then it is not required. If you
Okay.
mention OS in your CV as a course that you have completed, then there is possibility that they may ask the questions on OS. Okay, but if you have not mentioned it, they will not ask any question on OS.
So better not mention it. This is not relevant at
Yes.
all for VLSI.
Okay, Bhaiya. Short and crisp answer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now we'll end the stream. Thank you all for joining in, and that's a wrap for today.
Yes. Okay. Bye bye.